Later today, North Carolina could become the latest state to allow same-sex marriages.
News 13's Victoria Dunkle is live outside the Register of Deeds office in Buncombe County. And Victoria, that could be a busy place today.
Absolutely. In just a few hours, the doors open for a regular day of business, but it stands to be anything but normal here because this could be the day that the legal ban on gay marriage here in our state would be lifted. Here's what has happened, because this is going to be a busy place today. Following what happened with a federal judge in Greensboro yesterday, that judge actually lifted 2 stays he put in place that challenges to the state's ban on same-sex marriage. This could be a sign that he's preparing to actually strike down that ban as unconstitutional. The move came after the Attorney General's office in Roy Cooper filed documents with the court, essentially dropping any further defense of the ban that was approved by voters in 2012. So now, the Buncombe County Register of Deeds, Drew Reisinger, says that he has no doubt that he's going to see things change here and that this will happen.
And it looks like it really is inevitable at this point. From all the legal scholars we've been talking to, everyone expects Amendment 1 to be struck down.
Now, they have been busy at the Register of Deeds office working to be ready if and as he believes that when that will happen. But we need to tell you, the state's top Republicans, House Speaker Thom Tillis and Senate President Berger, have each said they intend to intervene in this situation. They argue 60% of the voters adopted this ban in 2012. We'll wait to see what happens on that front. But later today, the Register of Deeds here in Buncombe County and in counties all across the state are expecting to see people come forward requesting applications for same-sex marriages. And coming up in our next half hour, I'll show you a little bit of the work they put in yesterday to be ready for what they say will be a very busy day. Reporting live in Asheville, Victoria Dunkle, News 13.
North Carolina could become the latest state to allow gay marriage later today.
News 13's Victoria Dunkle is live outside the Register of Deeds office. In Victoria, the ban has not been overturned yet, but we could see that action today.
Absolutely. And so the folks here who work in this office just behind me are ready for some major changes. Now, what has gotten us to this point is yesterday, a federal judge in Greensboro actually lifted 2 stays regarding challenges to the ban on gay marriage here in our state. And since then, the Buncombe County Register of Deeds has been very busy preparing for what he says is going to be inevitable. Now, Drew Reisinger and his team have been working with the Health and Human Services to change the application for marriage here in Buncombe County. Right now, it requires the signature of a male applicant and a female applicant. And he says they're working on that paperwork, changing the wording to be a spouse and a spouse. And he says that everything is pointing to the end of the ban.
From all the legal scholars we've been talking to, everyone expects Amendment 1 to be struck down.
Now, this all came up to the point where the federal judge could today actually take the step of striking down the ban as unconstitutional. This judge took the action after Attorney General Roy Cooper removed the documents, or actually filed documents with the court, essentially dropping all of the further defense of the ban that took effect in 2012. We will be following what happens. The doors open here at 8 o'clock this morning, and of course, we'll be watching closely what happens in the courtroom involving the federal judge and the ban on gay marriage here in North Carolina. Reported live in Buncombe County, Victoria Dunkle, News 13.
Later today, North Carolina could see its ban on same-sex marriage overturned.
News 13's Victoria Dunkle is live at the Register of Deeds office. In Victoria, a judge's decision could bring a rush of same-sex couples requesting marriage applications today.
That's exactly what could happen. Now, again, the ban has not been overturned yet, but several steps have been taken that have that looking very, very close to happening. Following the Supreme Court decision not to hear appeals from the states that have gay marriage bans earlier this week, we just saw yesterday that a federal judge lifted stays in 2 cases challenging our state's ban on same-sex marriages. That is a very likely sign that he's preparing to strike down the ban as unconstitutional. That step also came after our Attorney General, Roy Cooper, filed documents with the court, essentially dropping any further defense of the ban that took effect in 2012. Now, Drew Reisinger, who is the Register of Deeds, has been very busy here working to change the wording on marriage applications here in Buncombe County, working with Health and Human Services. Instead of requiring a male applicant signature and a female applicant signature, they're working to get the wording changed to spouse and spouse. He says he will be ready when the judge acts.
I think all people deserve to have equal rights, and I've been honored to stand up for all of the citizens of Buncombe County.
Now, the state's top Republicans have said, and I'm referring to House Speaker Thom Tillis and Senate President Berger, they have said they will vow to intervene in this action. They argue 66% of the voters voted to ban same-sex marriage back in 2012. Of course, we'll be following what happens for you and let you know as things play out here today on what could be a historic moment in our state history. Reporting live in Asheville, Victoria Dunkle, News 13.
Later today, North Carolina could become the latest state to allow same-sex marriages.
News 13's Victoria Dunkle is live at the Register of Deeds office. And Victoria, we are basically one step away from the end of the ban.
That's exactly right, and that means it'd be one step closer to same-sex couples coming here to the Register of Deeds office to file for applications to get married. So what got us to this point? Well, it was some changes that the judge made, a federal judge made yesterday. We found out and got word that in Greensboro, the federal judge lifted 2 stays that were cases challenging the state's ban on same-sex marriages. That's a possible sign that he is ready to take the next step, which would be a full striking down of the ban as unconstitutional. That judge's actions came after our Attorney General Roy Cooper filed documents with the court, essentially dropping the challenges, or further defense, to the challenges of the ban that took place in 2012. Now, Reisinger says everything is pointing to the end of this ban.
There's been an overwhelming amount of support for people who are very excited to have the opportunity to have their relationships recognized for the first time.
So what will have to happen? Well, Reisinger and his staff have been working with the Health and Human Services folks, changing the wording on the applications for marriages. Instead of requiring a signature from a male applicant and a female applicant, it now will read spouse and spouse. That paperwork is being changed and adjusted in advance of what you just heard Reisinger said, what is looking like the inevitable, the overturning of the ban on same-sex marriage here in our state. Now, however, the 2 state Republican leaders have spoken out. Thom Tillis and Senate President Berger have said they vowed to intervene because 60% of the voters did vote to approve that ban in 2012. We will be following the action in the federal court for you all day long. Stay with News 13 online and on the air for that information as soon as it becomes available. Reporting live in Buncombe County, Victoria Dunkle, News 13.